Have you ever customized the toolkit you carry in your Overland vehicle? Hi everybody, I'm Rob and this is Storm Crew Overland, where we talk about going on adventures, road tripping, camping, and just generally getting out and enjoying life. On this episode, we're going to talk about customizing your toolkit for your Overland rig, and why that's an evolving process, and especially why you should really recheck everything if you get a new vehicle. So this is what happened to me. I'm sure some of y'all know I had a 4Runner for years. Loved it. 2006 4Runner. Amazing car. Sold it. Life changed. Things changed. I got a new truck that you're sitting in the back of. And I was like, well, everything on it's an American truck, but all the bolts and stuff are metric. My toolkit's all metric. It should be fine. No, it wasn't fine. First thing that went wrong, well, nothing. Yes, okay. What happened was, I got a leveling kit. Super simple. Just pull out the coilovers, put the leveling kit, put the little spacer in there, put the coilovers back. Should be an easy job. So I pulled out my toolkit and found out that there was some things that I needed that I didn't have in my toolkit. Let me go ahead and pull the toolkit out and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is the exact toolkit that I carried in the 4Runner. When I sold the 4Runner, I took all this out and I just put it in the truck and thought, sweet, I'm set. First thing, nice big extendable lug wrench. Had this for probably over a decade. I've had it in like 5 or 6 different vehicles. And it's cool because it comes with these really nice sockets that are double-ended. Comes with, I'm trying to remember, one was like a 21 on one side, a 23 on the other. I think another one was 17 on one side, 19 on another. Then it had 2 more that were some, I don't know, freedom fraction kind of units that I've never had lug nuts that fit those. So I keep them just in case somebody's got a flat tire and I have to help. But first problem I ran into, to get the wheels off of the new truck, it required 22 millimeter socket. I had a 21, a 23, no 22. So now, like I said, I've adapted and put a 22 on there. Sorry about that. I had a work phone call I had to take. I hate when they call when I'm trying to film. Don't they understand I have a life? So yeah, first problem was my lug wrench wouldn't be able to take the lug nuts off. Now, not a huge deal if this had happened on the side of the road or on a trail or something. I have the original equipment, Chevy, GMC, lug wrench, jack, and all that in the truck. So we're all good there. So if that would have been the problem, it'd have been okay. Next, I have this really nice tool roll. It was cool. This was a tool roll that I got from someone. It fell apart, and then I rebuilt it and restored it. Probably can't tell, but using some multicam black fabric, try to make it look a little cooler. It was really nice. Actually, I'm gonna pick the camera up and show y'all. Hang on one second. Okay, so we transitioned over to handheld mode for a second here. So, like I said, really nice ratcheting wrench set. Really nice. Got the swivel head and everything. I love these. Here's what I found out. Just to do the leveling kit, a lot of the bolts I had to take off, which there's not that many. Let's not be dramatic here, but several of the bolts that I had to take off were 18 millimeter. Let's look at this kit and see if you see a problem. We got 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16, 19, 17. There's right here should be an 18. Kit didn't come with an 18. On the Toyota, never even, I knew it didn't have an 18, but it was never a problem on the 4Runner because basically nothing on it was an 18. It was, for the most part, anything that range was a 17. Problem number 1. But hey, easy to solve. I'll just get an 18 millimeter ratcheting wrench because I like ratcheting wrenches. If you haven't used them, God, they're so nice. You can fit them into places. They're fast, they're easy. But now, because this kit has nice numbers on it, and I'm a little special sometimes, I'm going to have to remake this whole bag to either not have numbers or find a way to put numbers on there to make a spot for an 18, like take the 16 out or so. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. But yeah, the other thing I noticed is one of the bolts I had to take off was a 20, and there's no 20 in this set as well. We go straight from 19 to 22, and that's not going to work. Okay, so next thing we're going to move into is finally, let me just close that up so it's out of the way. This is more of just my little general toolkit. It's just an old, Molly storage bag. Been using it as a tool bag for years. Now, don't make fun of me on some of these tools. I have the weirdest collection. I got Harbor Freight stuff in here. I've got No Name stuff in here. I've got Snap-on in here for some reason. It's kind of a mix of stuff for multiple reasons. And let me start pulling it out and we'll kind of go over it real quick. So, here's our bag. And we'll just start pulling stuff out. First up is a very old Snap-on ratcheting screwdriver. This is a nice kind that, you take the back end off and it's got all the bits in there and you click it one way or the other to make it ratchet. This thing is so nice. It was my dad's when he was a professional mechanic for Dow Chemical 45, 50 years ago. So this thing's pretty old, but one, I carry it just because it was dad's and it's cool. And y'all know I'm emotional about stuff. But it's also the nicest ratcheting screwdriver I've ever used. I wish you could feel the ratchet on this. It's so smooth, you barely can even feel it click. But it's strong. It's never slipped on me or anything. It's amazing. So yeah, great. And guess what? It's a screwdriver. It worked on the 4Runner. It works on the new truck. No problems there. Oh look, Harbor Freight. Vice grips. Oh, now these are. No, these are actual real vice grips. Holy crap. They're also very old. They're a little on the small side, but they get the job done. Vice grips are kind of like duct tape. They're kind of an emergency use thing. Trail repairs kind of. This is not amazing stuff. Just got a little flashlight. Kind of lights up a little light bar. Lights up on the end. Always good to have a flashlight. And on top of that, I've always got a headlamp in the truck. I've got glow sticks in the truck. Usually have a little electronic lantern or two stashed away somewhere. I always have plenty of light. You gotta have light. Not to mention your phone, all that other fun stuff. Okay, other stuff that makes plenty of sense. 3/8 drive ratchet, kind of normal size. Like I said, this is just cheap Harbor Freight stuff, but it gets the job done. Set of sockets. Set of deep sockets. So when I first realized I didn't have that 18 millimeter in my ratcheting wrenches, I was like, no big deal. I know I've got a whole set of sockets. And guess what? There's no 18 on there. I don't remember if I bought this and it didn't come with an 18, or if I chopped this down myself because nothing on the 4Runner was an 18. But then I was like, oh wait, I've got deep sockets. And in fact, that particular bolt, when I was doing it, needed a deep socket. Nope. No 18 on the deep sockets either. So that's another one of those. Now I'm going to have to go get... do you even buy a single socket somewhere? I might have to go out and buy a whole new set again, which is just weird. And then you notice these are like perfectly sized because I cut those rails down to make them fit just right. Now they're not going to fit, and I'm going to have to cut new rails down. And that's fine. That's part of the fun of having an Overland vehicle or any kind of vehicle you're modifying, any kind of project. You get to figure your stuff out and solve these problems and make things that work just for you. But yeah, I definitely need to get an 18 mil ratcheting wrench, short socket, long, deep socket. And luckily went online and I found a list of common bolt sizes on Chevy and GMC pickups to make sure that in the future I have all the right sockets. So I'm going to go through, kind of cross-reference, see if there's any other sizes I need to add. Back to the toolkit though, normal stuff, those pliers, kind of universal. Work on the 4Runner, work on the truck, no issues there. Yeah, just little snap-off razor blade. Never know when you may have to cut something. Also, specifically, I keep this if I have to cut off like tire plugs instead of trying to keep a laser blade in my tire plug kit. Just having this, or if I've got to cut anything else. Plus, I always have a pocket knife, and I've got other cutting things in the truck anyway. But it never hurts. Let's see. Oh yeah, 3/8 extension just for those guys. These are those double-ended sockets that came with that extendable lug wrench I was talking about. So it's nice. You had, all these that have different sizes and still didn't have the right one to fit the truck. 21 to go. Oh yeah, it goes. He must have fallen off here. He goes on here. Okay, I was wondering why there was a loose socket. Oh yeah, there's another double-ended one that still wasn't the right one I needed for my truck. Let's see what else we got in here. Oh, cheap Harbor Freight crescent wrench. Now, had I been out on the trail and had something broke and I had to do some kind of trail fix and all I had was this, I probably could have got that 18mm off, even the one that needed a deep impact socket, or sorry, deep socket. This would have worked. I would have got the job done. I would have got home. I had to wave at the neighbor. But this is a little bitty short one. I might have had to put a cheater bar or something on it, or stood on it or something to get it to go. But that's why I carry it, is just in case there's a bolt size that I don't need, or if it's a situation where there's a nut and a bolt and I've got to do both and they're both the same size. That's where that guy comes in handy. Okay, some of this is some weird stuff. Oh, yeah, okay. A shorter extension just in case. Okay, here's one that made me think I was a genius. I do realize I only carry a fairly short, this is 9 or 10 inch, 3/8 ratchet. I realize it's kind of short, and I may have to have a bolt that's stuck or doesn't want to come out. So I do carry a little adapter that I can put any of my 3/8 sockets on to the big lug wrench if I really have to. Don't want to do that, but have it just in case. Okay, don't laugh at me for this one. This one's going to take some explaining. I'm going to hold it up and show it to you. Then I'm going to pause the camera and show you what it actually is. Just a weird little guy. Hang on, let me fix this and I'll explain it. Okay, welcome back. I got it figured out here. So I showed you that little metal tube, and what happens is the bottom unscrews, and inside are these little pointy things, and then in the bottom, you put some 550 cord, which I usually have 550 cord run through these channels. I must have used it for something and forgot to replace it. Now I don't even know what happened. But yeah, back to this. So you do that, you put the 550 cord on, and you've got a little mini grappling hook, which sounds ridiculous. But I've used this multiple times. I've used this at stadiums to get like hats and stuff people have dropped under the seats. I have used this to retrieve a drone. Someone flew off a cliff that was far enough down that we couldn't really safely climb to it, but it wasn't that far. It was only like 20 feet. So yeah, I got some paracord and we're able to use this to hook part of the drone and bring it back up. So that was, $500 save right there. I've even used it without the spikes screwed in, just the piece itself and its 550 cord to throw up, to get a rope up on limbs for like a bear bag or just trying to hang something. I've even used it to hang a pinata at a party because we were at somebody's house and they wanted to loop it over a tree and I had this in my truck, was able to go grab it. So seems like the weirdest thing, but yes, I do carry a mini collapsible grappling hook in my toolkit. I've used it more times than I ever thought I would. And then finally, it is falling apart. I need to replace it. Probably should replace it with one of my own little bags. But down here, we've got kind of a little miscellaneous kit. Like I said, it is definitely falling apart. But inside, we've got some duct tape, little things of super glue, I got a little thing of electrical tape wrapped around a piece of pin. Got heat shrink. Somewhere, I don't know, they may be lost. I had extra fuses in there, so I'm going to have to go through and rebuild that as well. So this kind of leads me to my little conclusion here. I've got some changes I need to make, and that's fine. Like I said, that's part of the adventure. That's part of the fun. It's part of building an overland rig. You get to customize your stuff and customize everything to make it work the way you want. Well, the only reason I figured out this was a problem is because even though over here in my garage, I have a giant toolkit with a whole bunch of like 90s Craftsman tools that are, back when they were actually made in the US and had good warranties and were worth replacing and all that. I've got really, really nice tools and I use them sometimes, but a lot of times if I'm working on my overland vehicle, like the truck here, I like to use the toolkit that I keep in the truck. That way, if something, I know what tools to have. And if I turn into like, oh crap, I really need an 18mm deep socket in case I have to fix this on the trail, I know the kit has it, or I know I need to get it and add it to the kit. So whenever I am working on the kit or doing modification, if I'm working on the truck or doing modifications, even simple things like oil changes, I'm gonna try as much as I can, even though it may not be as much fun as using the good, fancy, expensive tools. I try to use the tools I have in my kit. It's that simple, and it's easy, and then I know what I have. I know it's going to work. I've had to do some interesting trail fixes before. I had to drive down. I live in Oklahoma City. I had to drive down to Houston one time in the 4Runner for a funeral. Halfway down there, alternator went out. Had to pull over, change the alternator in a parking lot of an O'Reilly. Wasn't horrible, but I only was able to do it because I had a set of tools in there that I knew fit the majority of the stuff that I was going to run into, and it worked. And I've had some other like interesting trail fixes and stuff where I was only able to do it because I had the right tools, and I only had the right tools because I had tested them by working on it with that home toolkit. With that truck toolkit instead of my big, giant Craftsman tool chest. So I encourage you to do the same. If you're not a super handy, super mechanical person, that's fine. But, if you get a small project, even if you've never really done anything, I guess a leveling kit might be a little intimidating. But if you get something small, like, oh my God, that tack form molly mount thing that I put up on a dash mount that I put in, I did the video about last week, that would have been a great first modification if you weren't confident working on stuff. It lets you start working on things, and even if you don't have a lot of tools, it came with all the tools you needed, and you could take those tools and go, okay, I need these, let me put them in my kit. Not that you're going to have to fix your dash mount on the side of the road, and if you can't, it's not the end of the world, but you kind of get what I'm saying. It's a start small, do what you can, do the maintenance you can with the stuff you have. One, you'll build that confidence. Two, you'll make sure your kit's good if you're out on the side of the road. And finally, this leads me to one of the most interesting things I've noticed about overlanding. And this applies to a lot of other things in life, but overlanding kind of specifically, because in a lot of ways, overlanding kind of leads to you being in unique situations where you're alone or far away from help. Once you're in that situation where something goes wrong and you're able to work through it and fix it, you get that confidence of knowing I can handle whatever comes up in life. And then later on in life, when you're at work and something mildly inconvenient happens and it starts stressing you out, you can look back and go, wait a second, I got through that situation. I fixed that tire with the big sidewall gash on the side of the trail. The fact that Joe wants this email by the end of the day is not a huge deal. I can handle this. Build that confidence, build your toolkit, whatever. Like I said, build your kind of metaphorical toolkit too. I realize I'm starting to ramble, so I'm just going to go and wrap this up. But yeah, I got some work to do, get my toolkit figured out. I encourage you to make sure your actual physical toolkit for your Overland rig is figured out. But in the process, keep working on your metaphorical toolkit. Make sure you know how to handle things in life. Yeah, touch grass. Go to therapy maybe. I don't know. Oh, if you enjoyed this at all, if you enjoy any of this content, check me out on Facebook or Instagram. Both of those you can find me at Stormcrow Overland. If you want to send me an email, you can find me at stormcrowoverland@gmail.com. Leave me a comment, leave me a message, even on YouTube. Either way, I really appreciate it. I am going to be at More Expo. If you're watching this like soon after it comes out, I'll be at More Expo teaching Overland Trauma Care. Super excited. This will be the third year I've taught classes out there. More has always been a great time. I very much did not know what I was getting into the first year that I went 3 years ago. In fact, I kind of had a negative idea about it, but I went just to go, and I had a blast. And I made some really good friends. Chris, who runs it, Chris Holloway, is an amazing person. Aaron Paris, who heads up pretty much the whole training thing, runs Switchback Outdoor Safety. Great guy. And just all the different industry partners that I've met out there. I sound silly to say it that way, but all the other like Overland people that have businesses or small businesses, they've all been great. I can almost say that there hasn't been anyone that I didn't enjoy meeting out there. Take that however you want. But so yeah, I'll be at More Expo teaching classes. I was a storyteller last year. I didn't really try this year because the truck's new and it's kind of plain looking. Doesn't make a good storyteller vehicle in my opinion. And I really think I am going to go kind of do the stealth build idea. I'm worried that stealth build is going to be awesome in real life, but not great for YouTube. I'll probably make a whole video about that later. I should write that down. But so yeah, if you're there, try and find me in the evenings. I'll be in the big campsite hanging out. I may even bring sewing machine out there and be trying to sew some stuff, sew some patches. I'll be hanging out in Camp Northology in the evenings. Hopefully hanging out around a fire, having a drink or two. Feel free, find me, say hi. If we've never met and you watch this stuff, come, let me know. I'll give you a sticker or something, or yeah, like I said, come say hi. I'm rambling again. So sometimes you may have to go out there. Sometimes you may have to get lost and even use your real life or metaphorical toolkit before you can find yourself. Thanks for watching.